and welcome to The Upgrade. I'm Seymour Segnet. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to talk about it now. Kate has the day off. She's been flat out answering questions and tickets along with the folks at Net Capital. I guess that means I will have to do the secret word myself. Each time we do an upgrade, we have a little word that we say towards the end, and you can go enter it in for 3 extra chances to win in our monthly $1,000 prize draw. Let's see next time if we can announce the most recent winner for that. We haven't done that for a while. Yeah, as I said, Kate is taking a little time off. She was working really hard answering all of your questions. Thank you for so many nice comments about her, and occasionally one or two about me and what we've done over the last few weeks. The amount of interest in us offering the opportunity to become a co-owner in MAGFAST was just, I'm almost in tears. Actually, it was simply extraordinary. Net Capital told us that they'd answered 2,000 tickets, 2,000 inquiries. That was even, I think, before the official launch time at 4 p.m. on Thanksgiving, 4 p.m. Eastern on Thanksgiving Day. And I say the official launch time because that was, and you need to look into my eyes, my hand on my heart, that was the launch time. Everything was set up for that launch time. But I'm going to explain to you what happened because we didn't say anything about, we did nothing before that time. As you know, you got an email at 3:59. It went out Eastern on Thanksgiving Day. But some people had found it in advance and had already invested. And I want to explain to you how that happened. In order for an investment like this to take place, there are one of the things to understand, and if you've watched a few of these shows before, you probably already understand this. There's this very complex regulatory environment that governs the whole thing, right? It's the feds. You don't mess with the feds. The Securities and Exchange Commission. These guys are serious. So we're constricted in all kinds of ways, including some of the things that I'm allowed to say to you today. If you don't believe me, go read the regulations. They're insane. Anyway, in order to do something like this, as I described, there's a whole boatload of work that has to be done before. And then the page itself, in our case at Net Capital, where the investment was taking place, has to be put up obviously before 4 o'clock. We couldn't be turning it on at 4 o'clock and then there was a problem. So it has to be put up before 4 o'clock. But in addition to just putting it up and making sure it worked from a kind of web point of view, there's another factor, which is that the SEC requires, Securities and Exchange Commission, the feds, remember, requires that after posting it, you then have to do a filing at the SEC. They have this website called Edgar where all these forms have to be filed. And their website isn't always open. So because we were going out on Thanksgiving Day, that filing had to happen before 5 p.m. The previous day. I think it was before 5, maybe a little later than that because of West Coast. But it basically had to be done before close of play the previous day, Wednesday, the eve of Thanksgiving. And then, of course, they didn't want to be filing at the last minute if there was a problem. So they had put the page up a little bit before that. And here's the thing. The guys at Net Capital, I would do anything for them. These guys are incredible. In an age when most people that you deal with, and we spoke to a bunch of other platforms that do this, could care less about their customers, these guys were just amazing. I've given them a shout out before. I'll do it again now. Rob and Vlad, you guys are incredible, along with Lily. Thank you so much for the work that you did. Really, really fantastic. But they've never met a crowd quite like ours before, quite like you before. So we'd said, look, we want to open it up on Thanksgiving Day. We had asked them to make the page sort of hidden until then. The problem is that these guys have built the website so that people can find investment opportunities. And it's not just a matter of, is there a link on the page or whatever. It's also, they have automatic postings to social websites and this, that, and the other. So the net result of it was that Google found the page, I think the previous evening or earlier the previous day. And there were so many folks who were there setting up their accounts and this, that, and the other, that basically people did find it early. And there was a bunch of investment early. Now, all of that was completely legitimate according to all of the official rules and regulations. It just wasn't what we wanted to set up. We wanted to set it up at 4 o'clock, but we don't have the option of saying no either. We can say, well, you came early. And I've read the posts and the email from so many folks who came in early, and many folks were saying, oh my God, I was so excited. I saw the button, I pressed it. I thought it was just a test thing. I didn't even know I'd done it. So we know that the folks who got in early were just wonderful people who were excited to be involved with MAGFAST. So I'm very grateful and flattered to everybody who did that. All right. Then 3:59 came along, and we sent out the email formally announcing, hey, we're open for business. Now, the website went down, website crashed. So did Walmart on the same day, probably with a little more traffic than we sent along. But this is what happens sometimes when there's some kind of online event. It doesn't have to happen, but it very often happens when there's some kind of online event with a lot of people going to it. Now, I am actually slightly culpable in all of this. We'd said to Net Capital, please work on, and they had put on extra servers. But it turns out that the way our email software sent out the link, it kind of added, sometimes you see links and they've got question mark, and they've got little bits and pieces on them after the question mark. It's called the query string. And it turns out the way our email software sent it out, that question mark bit, the way that Net Capital server received it, it was kind of like, I better make a fresh page for this person. And so instead of using what's called caching, which is where the page is saved and ready to send out to everybody, their servers were struggling to build the page separately for every single visitor. And that's why we had that problem. The long and the short of it was that the site was down very substantially after that, because there were so many, and again, thank you, so many folks were looking to go there. And that by the time everything was up and running again, basically the whole thing had filled up. So I'm aware that just as there are almost 1,000 amazing folks watching this now who are now investors in our young company, there are many, many more folks who are not, and that's a laughter of embarrassment. I don't think that it's funny at all. And I want to give you my assurance that I'm doing everything I can to create another chance. Part of the problem is that until like I've already explained, the SEC has rules about what you can and can't say, and we're not at the moment in a position to say what we're planning to do, which is nuts. What I can tell you is, and by the way, these are the words, please go read the regulations. You'll understand what the hell the SEC has created for young companies here. It's just like this. But our Securities Counsel, our lawyer, says that I can say this. If we conduct another raise like this, it's called a Reg CF raise. If we conduct another CF raise, all right, then we will offer the same deal. So if you're someone who wanted in but wasn't able to, and if we do another offering, it is still appropriate for you, because I want to repeat, this is not appropriate for everyone. And anyone who invested, please, I hope you didn't give us a penny that you couldn't afford to lose. And the same would go if we do it again. But we will, if we do another CF, the next time we will offer the same deal, and we'll also work to correct the things that didn't work as we wanted to last time. So we'll make sure that the deadline is the deadline, and we'll certainly do our very, very best. I can't promise that we'll get everything right. Those of you who've watched all of these materials, including the main investment, the presentation where I first spoke about it, there's only one thing that's guaranteed here, and that's that there'll be lots of ups and downs, and it'll be crazy along the way, right? That's the only guarantee. In addition, I'm going to work flat out to make this thing work, but that isn't guaranteed. But the fact that it'll be up and down is absolutely guaranteed. Such is life itself. I guess that's the only guarantee in life itself, isn't it? But normally, when a company raises some money and then there's a pause and then they raise some money again, if things are going well, then the price would be a little bit higher, because over time, maybe there's some more sales volume. Maybe by that point we might be shipping, or closer to shipping anyway, because that's starting to move, as you guys know. And ironically, because of the first, because we now have the first round of investment capital in, you can, again, this is not, I'm not allowed to say the exact amount that was raised because of the stupid SEC rules. Sorry, the stupid rules for the intelligent and lovely people at the Securities and Exchange Commission, gentlemen, ladies. But the rules are a little bit funky, or the way that they were. The legislation was a bit funny, and that caused some of the rules to be a little bit unusual in the way they were done. So I can't say the exact amount that was raised. I can tell you it's just over $1 million, and you can go to Net Capital and see how much it was. But the fact that that amount has been brought in now itself makes the company stronger. It doesn't eliminate the risk, but it reduces the risk a little bit. We believe, I believe, it is my belief that that is the case. So normally a next round of investment, if things are going well, would be at a higher price. My commitment to you is that if we are able to do another one, we will do it at the same price, so that folks who tried to get in here are not dinged because the website was down or whatever. Now, there are other reasons why people didn't get in. I just want to cover those quickly. I read a long, and let's just be charitable and call it animated, email from a gentleman who was very angry with us because his credit card was declined. We don't control the credit card companies. We can only do the best that we can do. And as with in this case, there seemed to be enough people to fill up the investment. So it's then, it's going to be the folks who are able to close first, if that makes sense. If you go to a Thanksgiving sale and there's only 100 TVs, they're going to give it to the 100 TVs, to the people who are, whose credit card is working, I think there's a lesson in there, which is if there's something that you're doing that's really important to you, investing someplace else, or you can call your credit company. You can call your credit card company in advance and say, look, I've got this thing coming up. Let's make sure that it's good. And Net Capital also have one or two people whose other kinds of payments, bank payments or whatever, didn't work out. They do the best they can to process those. But if ultimately they can't, then it'll have to be next time, and then someone on the wait list gets to move in. So that's probably as much as I should say about it now. We're still working on these power moves. International had a couple of meetings today. We're talking about starting to offer MAGFAST internationally and new marketing channels. We're always working on shipping. We were discussing the amazing new idea that we have for the travel industry. So we're leaning already at this time into many of the things we've been talking about to grow the company in the future. The fifth thing that I mentioned when I was doing power moves in that presentation was retail. That's still likely a ways off, as it should be for a direct-to-consumer company. You should do that once a lot of other things are in place, but it's definitely a move for us in the future. All right, so that's kind of it. If we're able to do another one, we love you. You guys have supported us. You're incredible. If I were setting the rules for this, we would do things a little bit differently, but we are constrained by we love Net Capital, but the SEC forces us to be with Net Capital or someone for this. They require that this is done on a is it the word certified? Certainly an approved, kind of an approved portal. It's not something we could do on our website, even if we thought that was appropriate. One other thing I just want to mention really quickly, Net Capital has something called the STP, the Secondary Transfer Platform. People say, well, how am I going to sell my shares? I mean, in general, these securities are being offered in a private company where there is not the same liquidity as there is in the public markets and so on. But Net Capital have got this thing called the STP, the Secondary Transfer Platform, where in small quantities folks can buy and sell. It's not it's an amazing thing that they're doing, but it's not the same as a public market where there's true liquidity, lots of people buying, lots of people selling. So it's not the fair market value of any of the products, any of the securities that are on there. It's just some people have got, maybe they have some family emergency, they want to sell some shares, so they might sell them for cheap, or other securities or whatever. But it is nice that there's like a little bit of liquidity there. And even if one day we're lucky enough to be able to do an IPO and genuinely become a public company, even then it's a much more real value then. But even then, on smaller volumes, there can be a lot of kind of volatility in knowing the exact price. And even big companies, Tesla famously recently did what's called a share split, all right, which is where I think they did a 1-to-7. So every one share became 7 shares each one worth 1/7 as much. So investors were theoretically in the same place directly afterwards as they'd started. It's just that then the shares became cheaper. So lots of people like, I can now afford Tesla shares. And they went in there. The answer is you could afford 7 times as many shares as you could before, but you'd still be buying the same fraction of the company. All right. I hope all of that makes sense. Anyway, we take all of the feedback really seriously. I hope you can, look into my eyes. I hope that you can see that. If we're already talking to Net Capital, so that if we're able to do this again, we can build in improvements from everything that we've learned from this time. So it was fair, but we wanted to make sure that it feels fair. I know that the optics weren't fantastic this time. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just repeat again, if you invest in startup, in young companies, the only thing that is certain is that there'll be plenty of ups and downs along the way. Yeah, I think that's about it. I just wanted to say, thank you. I'm very thankful. As I said this in the email I sent out later on Thanksgiving Day, I'm very grateful in my blessed life that the kind of biggest problems I have to deal with are because of the overwhelming sort of kindness of an enthusiasm of our now investors, pre-order customers, and kind of fans of MAGFAST. So thank you for the challenges that you bring to my life. I'm very, very, very fortunate. And I know a lot of people have much less attractive challenges to deal with. So I'm very thankful, and thankful is this week's secret word. If you go to magfast.com/fun, magfast.com/fun, click through to the the thing where you can earn extra chances to win. And if you put in the word thankful, you'll get an extra 3 chances to win in this month's $1,000 prize draw, which is basically a bunch of electronics, including stuff from MAGFAST that you can choose. It's usually Kate who does it. If you are this month's lucky winner, you can work with her and choose whatever you want, kind of electronics, some of our stuff, whatever you would like. Secret word for this week is thankful, because I am so thankful. This is Seymour, and for this week, for the upgrade, be out.